Greetings, this is Stephen McKenzie. If you want to learn more about me, look at the About page on this YouTube channel, or go to my blog or LinkedIn or Facebook. You can find that in the lower right-hand corner of the banner on the YouTube channel. Today we're going to work on Segovia scales, and we're just going to touch upon things to work on instead of just rotely going through the scales. So this is the book that I learned with. This is an old book. I don't even know if it's in print anymore. This one you can get, and it comes with tablature also. So it comes with notes and tablature. It's I don't even know who the publisher is. Looks like a self-published book. Anyway, so one thing to work on with Segovia scales is just isolating the shift part. So for example, the B minor might be the hardest of the scales, right? So when you're getting up to the top, you're going so that's 1, 3, 4, 2, shift 4. So then just this part here, 2, 4. So practice going from 2. And notice I'm moving my arm. And notice when I'm up here, I'm putting my thumb here as support underneath. And when am I starting that? So he's just kind of right up like this. And I'm moving my arm with those shifts. So, and then even with the first one, the C major. On the descent, right here. So here. Now, one thing you can do with all of these scales is to practice at staccato and legato. So on the B minor, you should do all these with the metronome. So let's go ahead and get the metronome out. Now we'll start with just playing it on the beat for a metronome beat for every note you're playing. Okay, and then you can play long short. In the staccato. See, what staccato does, it increases the speed between the strokes of planting and getting ready. So if you're, in fact, that's a good thing to do if you have a run or something in a piece, is to practice it left hand only, right hand only, that is, and so instead of that, right? So you can practice it staccato, makes it very deliberate, and it helps you get solid with runs and stuff in pieces. So you can do that starting with the scales. So far we've covered shifts, playing staccato, playing long short. Another thing now, Segovia talks about playing I, M, then M, I, then M, A, then A, M, then I, A, then A, I. Then he has you go I, M, A, M, I, M, A, M. So for that one, it's good to say it out loud. In fact, it's good to say it out loud for all of them if you're just starting. But the one thing that's overlooked is PI. And I think it's really, in fact, I do all my Segovia scales PI because the arpeggio work helps with the other fingers. And you can do those staccato. And so on. And then on the minors, you can start with I, P. And then you can do different accents. So right now we're playing, for every metronome beat, we're playing a stroke. Well, we can increase that. And so I'm trying to accent the metronome beat. So I can slow it down even. So I'm at 100 here. Let's bring it down to 60. And we can do threes. 1, 2, 3. So there's built-in long shorts there really in a way. Or you can go 4. And then you can do, I forget what they're called, but or that's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4 too. And all of that. So those are all things you can do to just help build up your abilities and build up motor skills and kind of a vocabulary, let's say, using just scales. And you know, this book, Segovia would say, diligent study. This is by Columbia Music, Diatonic and Major and Minor Scales by Andre Segovia. He has this paragraph in here. The student who wishes to acquire a firm technique on the guitar should not neglect the patient study of scales. If he practices them 2 hours a day, he will correct faulty hand positions, gradually increase the strength of fingers, and prepare the joints for later speed studies. Now, I think a lot of modern teachers would scoff at that. I will say, though, since I've been playing classical guitar since the 70s, that playing the Segovia scales has probably done more than anything to help my technique. Now, could I have done better with some of the more modern techniques? I don't know, but I think I'm doing fine if you check out my videos, and I still do them. I don't necessarily do all 24 scales every day, but I still find them to be very useful in terms of practicing shifts, getting my hand positioned well, you know. And so let's just talk about playing C major. I'll turn the metronome off. So notice I'm kind of everything's very neutral. What I mean by neutral is my wrist is straight this way. You know, it's not like this, it's not like that. And then it's my fingers are they're not like this or not like this. So my wrist this way is fairly neutral also. You know, and all that changes. Like if I'm going to play a chord, if you see one of my other videos, I'm going to point my nails if I'm going to play a C chord, especially if I'm going to move to a G7. And so here I'm going to move, my wrist is going to come up a little bit, my elbow out a little bit. So there's no hard and fast rules. There's sort of a neutral position that you want to try to keep as an ideal, but then you have to do what it takes to reach all these other positions. But you want to be careful because the straight wrist is a very important rule to try to observe so you don't develop carpal tunnel syndrome. So you want to be careful. And same thing with doing slur exercises, right? You want to make sure you stay relaxed because that can cause stress here too. Anyway, what else do I want to say on scales? I think that's about it. Oh yes, even before you get into scales, there's some other exercises you can do to sort of warm up the left hand. So I wouldn't start with scales. I would start with just the Scott Tennant left hand warm up thing. Just 1, then 2. And so on. And then you can start switching off. I'm going 3, 4, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1. And then this one, this is, you can play this staccato and legato, and it's 1, 4, 2, 3. And back. In fact, after you do that and you get it warmed up, try doing it up here. Basically play every note on the fretboard. if you want to get better at playing these upper registers. And then also if you want to play a subset of, not do all the Segovia scales, just make sure you cover B major, B minor, E major, E minor, F major. Those are sort of the unique ones. And you can also the two octave, one of the 2 octave minor scales like C minor. So just so that you get the full coverage of the fretboard and you can practice those shifts using staccato, practicing isolating the problem area of the shift and just focus on that. And that's something that you can take into your pieces too. Practicing the shifts and just getting it down to the move that causes the problem instead of all the notes surrounding it, and just work on those moves. Anyway, so that's it. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. And I do have a Github repository in which I put all sorts of public domain materials. I don't have any classical related material right now, but I do have neck diagrams that have general fretboard music theory for guitar. So that's it. Thanks for your attention.